Ladies and gentlemen, we're back.
Episode 4.
4.
We're going into a nice little deep dive with a guest, by the way. And we are talking pretty much about bad sportsmanship.
Absolutely.
Whether it's kids or adults. Bad sportsmanship. Lack of respect, lack of etiquette. That's what we're going with.
We were so excited for this one.
It was fun.
It was fun.
It's going to be fun.
You know what else is fun?
What is that?
Instagram.
It is. We have an Instagram page for the Blender Talk Show where we do some shorts and post some, motivational type of things and probably some fun things coming up. So you can always go there, whether you like it or don't, but check out the shorts, whether it's on YouTube or Instagram. Please, it would be fun.
We appreciate it, and
Absolutely.
It's been incredible. So while we wait for episode 5, one day, enjoy
Keep
episode
thinking
4.
like a tinker.
We have a very, very almost special guest. Coach Ken, welcome to the show.
Awesome, guys. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, so I gotta be real. Coach Ken is my brother. And the whole area of this episode, how it got underway, is Kobe sent me a text message one day, and it pretty much just said, "Call me."
Yep.
Call me.
I needed to vent.
I needed to vent. So why should you stick around and watch the whole episode? We're going to get into one of those things that I think each and every one of us have been involved in, and kind of like jerk parents. We're going to talk about jerk parents. So what better guest to have than a jerk parent?
Me?
No, you're not a guest. Host.
Yeah. This sounds great. I got to tell you, when you first called me and you said, we're going to do this episode on jerk parents, and I called our mom and she said, you should talk to your brother. I thought that you were implying it was because we had jerk parents, and that's what we wanted to talk about.
Well, I'm sure every kid thinks that. I have jerk parents.
Well,
so I mean,
I was clear on one of the episodes. We had a jerk parent, but not jerk parents.
Yeah, this is probably also true. So
Right. So, but it was funny because I told her about it. And I'm like, yeah, I was talking to Kobe, my podcast partner, and we kind of want to do an episode about jerk parents, especially jerk parents at their kids' sporting events. And our mother, with her infinite amount of wisdom in cats, but also people was like, you should talk to your brother. And I'm like, you're right. I don't know anybody who's as jerky of a parent as Coach Ken. No, I'm kidding. You're awesome. And we love Jax, obviously, but tell us a little bit about why we would invite you on to the show to talk about jerk parents.
Yeah, well, you might not know this, but I'm a frequent and professional podcast guest. So you are in luck, number one.
nice.
But no, number 2. So I've been around sports and coaching for a long time. Personally, I've moved on from organized sports, but do triathlon. I coach Ironman athletes. And then I also coach youth sports. So soccer for my son, who has been playing since he was probably 3 years old. And through that, I think because I enjoy coaching so much and coaching Ironman athletes and triathletes, I started as an assistant coach with soccer and ultimately moved up to really take over the group that I have today and have been coaching for probably at least 5 years at this point. And so there's a lot of dynamics with those kids, with their parents, with parents on the other teams. And I think that's probably why Mom thought I would be a good guest to have.
I would imagine that you've given her stories of events where they're just parents out of control?
Yeah, I think so, right? But aside from also being a coach and having parents be sometimes maybe uber passionate, I've also been to events where I'm not the coach, and so I get it from the parents' side too. And you get excited for the game, just like any game, right? Like it's not just youth sports, but we go to Steelers games and Pirate games or other events, and like we get really emotionally invested in these teams, even when they're not our kids. And so then when you throw in that emotional aspect of having a little you on the field who you want to see, and you actually feel like you might be able to control the outcome even more, it gets more passionate. And so I definitely understand where folks are coming from on both sides of the fence here.
Yeah. The problem is that people can't keep their passion and emotions, more than anything, emotions in check. Separate themselves from the child.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's out of control in a lot of ways. Sometimes it's even out of control when it's good. When they're cheering, you're like, okay, calm down. They're 8 years old. This isn't the World Series. you know, like nobody's getting a shoe deal out of this. Like, chill a little bit.
I even think back to, I remember seeing an Instagram reel or a video somewhere, and it was of a college recruiter, right, who is going around and looking for the best up and coming players. And he even talked about there's no such thing as an elite 8-year-old, right? So many parents, aside from just being there in the game, right? It's outside of the game environment too, where they've got all these private coaches for the kids. They're sending them to strength trainers, and they're 8, right? And he said, never have I recruited anybody that I realized was an elite 8-year-old. And so when we really start to talk about youth sports then, which I'm sure we'll dive deeper into, right? It's like, what is the point of youth sports? What is it all about? Why are we putting our kids into these events in the first place?
I was watching an episode of Clarkson's Farm. Are you familiar with this?
No, please tell me. Maybe I'll add it to my list.
Yeah. So are you familiar with Jeremy Clarkson, the old host from the British Top Gear?
Are you one of those British TV people?
Top Gear is a very famous. In fact, it's so famous that when Jeremy Clarkson got fired, Amazon picked up the host to do their own spinoff of it. But so anyways, Jeremy Clarkson retires and he buys a farm, and now he has a farm TV show. And in the last episode of the latest season, and there's a point to this, so just bear with me for a minute. I found it really interesting because, so he's a new farmer. He's old, and the whole farming community has come up with this, well, we just have to accept this is the way things are done. And he has this pregnant cow who's pregnant with twins. And because there's a badger problem over there, the cows have to get tested for tuberculosis, cow TB.
Mhm.
And they use these micrometers to measure lumps on the cows. And you're talking millimeters with a micrometer on a moving creature. Well, the cow tests inconclusive. So they test it again a month or two later and it's inconclusive. So they have to kill the cow. And they kill the cow, and the test results after this come back negative. The cow didn't have TB. So he loses this cow, and he's going off about like, and this is where the point of the story is. He's going off like, I know you guys have been farming for your whole lives and you accept this, but I'm new and I'm not going to accept this as how it's supposed to be. And I think we can look at that with sports where we almost get this, well, as parents, we have to go in there and we have to get riled up because this is how it is, until somebody says, why? Why can't we just go to a game, support our kids without all this pressure when they're 8 years old, like you said?
Yeah. Uh, I do like that. Why does it have to be this way, right? Or how do we think, or why do we think this even evolved to be so competitive at that age? And so
I know.
yeah, go ahead.
I was say it was funny because the day Kobe and I talked, I mentioned Grandma's ham.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to tell that story?
No, good.
So, are you familiar with the story? There's a mother, and she's so excited. I tell stories; it's what I do. AI probably told you that.
And what's cool about this is Andy's the only other person I've ever known in my entire life that knows this story.
Yeah,
And we
yeah.
totally different things. So
mother and daughter are baking a ham together, and step one is cut the ham in half. And the daughter's like, "Mom, why are we cutting the ham in half?" Well, that's how Grandma has always done it. Why don't you go ask Grandpa? So the daughter goes and asks Grandpa, "Hey, Grandpa, why did Grandma always cut the ham in half when she made ham?" "Oh, I don't know." "Why don't you go ask Grandma?" "Okay. Hey, Grandma, why did you always cut the ham and why are we cutting the ham in half?" "Oh, darling, it's because my pan only fits half a ham in it."
Yeah. Uh, I love that. And I have heard that story before, and maybe have you told it on the podcast before?
I don't think yet.
Okay, I've definitely heard that, and it's one that definitely resonates, and it's an example that I've used in the past before too, working with folks. So I'm always been very big on like first principles and asking why do we do this way, right? Or what is the outcome we're ultimately trying to achieve? And so when I go,
what's the purpose of this? You know what I'm saying? It's like, why? Well, what's the purpose?
Can I ask you a follow-up question on that real quick?
yeah. Was the first question before the follow-up? Have you heard this story?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
That was
okay.
the first. So let me ask you this: as somebody who coaches people, how many people ask you, "Why are we doing it this way?"
Yeah, that's a great question, and probably the first time I've been asked that. So, um, so thank you. I do try to set an expectation with parents in my first set of emails that I send out before the season starts that I think really gets to the heart of that, right? And so what is the purpose of youth sports? The way I go into it, the way I frame it is letting parents know that I'm really trying to teach kids how to handle adversity, how to handle failure, how to work with teammates that they didn't choose, they might not know, or maybe they do know and just for whatever reason have never connected or don't particularly like. So I think those are the big things that come out of youth sports. I think that's the reason that I think it's important for my kid to be involved in youth sports. It's not necessarily about winning games. Like that's fun, but that's just icing on top of the cake. And so I try to lay that expectation out at the beginning of the season. And I think this is really a coach's responsibility is to make sure that everybody understands that. When when you start, I think from those first principles or that framing, it makes the season a lot easier and it lays the groundwork for when you might have to have some more of those difficult conversations with parents who are just all in insanely emotionally invested, right? To say, hey, this is the mission that I had established for my team prior to starting.
I like that because I don't think a lot of people, at least in my experience, and having grown up with me, that I didn't do school sports or sports as a young child slash young adult. It wasn't until I reached my 30s that I started playing hockey on a team. And as you know, like karting's my thing where I don't even have to worry about teammates. I put my helmet on, I'm in my own world, and I get in a go kart and I'm battling with everybody. So like I wouldn't as a individual outside of that type of sport know that a coach should be giving people that kind of information, and I appreciate that there are coaches that do.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely important. I'm sure the majority of coaches probably do not. So that would be my number one recommendation first for anybody who's listening that might find themselves in a coaching role is just establish those guidelines to start. And then when you do have a situation that you might have to deal with on your team, it makes the conversation easier, right? Now, what I see a lot of is when we're playing other teams who maybe their coaches haven't had those conversations, there is a lot more intensity coming from the sideline, and you can almost see it in the faces of the other team's players that like, oh my gosh, here we go again. And you can see there's some embarrassment there. And so ultimately it's not really serving anybody other than the parent who might be emotionally invested in the outcome of this youth sports game.
So
I
sorry, go ahead.
no, well, I was gonna say, this is, certainly in a team sports environment too. Like Kobe, I would be super interested to hear your experience within Taekwondo, where it's less of a maybe
Tongue
team.
tongue sudo.
Tongue sudo.
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
He used to do karate.
Yeah, for a brief period of time, and then even got into jujitsu for just a very brief period, but would love to get back to that. It's just
So as a coach, if the other team, the other team's parents and coaches, I'll say coaches first. As a head coach, you have the other coaches on the opposing team, and they are just rotten. I'll just flat out say it. They are just rotten. And not only are they yelling at their own players that you disagree with how they're coaching, but then they start saying things about your players. How would you handle that? Because this goes into a situation where I was just, I don't want to say involved in, but I was watching. So I have my own ideas about that, but I would really like to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know a lot of what I say is much easier said than practiced. and I try
I like
to,
that you've been practiced and not done.
yeah,
Like you have to
absolutely.
practice certain things before you can even do them.
Yeah.
And speaking too. So
I try to look at almost everything as a practice, right? It's like I never try to say I'm done. So, uh, there were a few ground rules I established specifically with my team this year before we started, and it was because of some situations last year that we didn't handle so well. So I'll circle back to those because that also involves having to have tough conversations with parents. But this year, I tried to lay the ground rules with the team, right? I kind of had said that I already mentioned to the parents before we start, hey, what we're trying to do here is we're teaching the kids to handle adversity. We're teaching the kids to handle failure and, working with the team. But with the team, I talked a lot more about a few things I wanted them to focus on. So number one, and I said this is the most important one, and this actually came probably from a coach who influenced me when I used to play sports, is respect, right? So number one, we are going to respect each other, and if we're not, you're not playing, right? In the division of soccer that we play in, I wouldn't necessarily say it's highly competitive. It's travel soccer, but we're trying to give most kids at this age equal playing time. So, but the one reason you will sit, it's not because you make mistakes. It's because you're not following these guidelines I'm setting out. So the first one is respect. We respect each other, your fellow teammates. We respect the referees, right? They're going to make bad calls. They're going to make calls that you don't agree with, but we're going to be respectful. And then you're going to respect the other team. So the other team might be in your face. The other team might not be playing respectful, but we are going to be respectful. And that also goes with the coaches. Like, absolutely, you respect us as your coaches. But number two, you respect the other coaches, even if they're not feeling worthy of your respect. We're still going to respect them. So we try to establish those boundaries there. Outside of respect, the second thing that we focus on is effort, right? So as long as you're making effort, like, I do not care if your passes aren't connecting or your goals aren't on, or your shots aren't on net or resulting in goals. As long as you're giving effort, you're going to play for sure. But that whole first respect piece is the important one. So when you've got coaches on the other side who might be encouraging their teammates to not play in a respectful manner, we're going to be the bigger team. We're going to be. Say that again.
Sweep the leg.
Oh, sweep the leg. Yeah. Right. And you'd be surprised that, like, you do hear those kind of things. So
Hey,
I'm not surprised.
Establishing with the kids, we're going to treat these other folks with respect regardless. And then there are certainly times as a coach where you need to step up and you need to move over to the other bench and try to have that conversation with the other referee. Hey, I know this is a close game. This is a competitive game. Your players look great out there, but, like, this is not the atmosphere we're trying to create. And I need you to either tune it down a little bit or figure out how we can work through this. Otherwise, we're going to have a conversation with the referees. And for the most part, I found when you're showing respect to the other team, and then also especially to the referees, right? The referees are going to be on your side. So they might pull out that card for the other team's coach, which I've seen done before. And usually that quiets the other side down because the refs see what's going on. So that's typically how I've handled those situations, right? And I think it's really important just to, and again, easier said than done, something that's always a practice, like, understand what's getting you riled up, understand what your triggers are, so that you can kind of remove yourself from the situation it's overall and be able to come at it with objective points and talk to the facts, not the emotions.
Yeah, so when Andy brought up about me texting him to give me a call that I needed to vent. So what happened was there was a softball game. Now, this is 12U softball. And these two teams were playing. The one team, I can't even use the word rude. I will say that they were rude, but borderline bullying with the things that were coming out of these young girls' mouths and the coaches' mouths and then the parents' mouths. It was insane. One of the girls on one of the teams, the pitcher, actually started crying on the mound because of the things that the other coach was saying. Now, problem one is that home plate umpire never established control. There was no control. He didn't step up and say, hey, this is bull. You need to stop. Nothing. The other problem is, as we're talking about parenting here, is when she came off the field, her dad, who's the coach, the only thing he said to her was, what's your problem? He was mad at her for being emotional. Now, as a parent, come on. Like, how dare you, number one, not stick up for your daughter? Number two, as a head coach, how do you not stick up for your team? Your entire team. How do you not go to the umpire and be like, hey, this is out of control. You need to establish some sort of rules here. And then at the end of the game, all of a sudden, the assistant coach yelled at the umpire, and then he threatens to kick her out of the game. It's like the second to the last inning.
Yeah, that's so tough, right? Because it's a failure on multiple levels, unfortunately.
And the one
And
coach was irate. He
Mhm.
wanted to say something, and he was actually, from what I know, anyways, he was actually told, "You're going to stay in the dugout. You're not even coaching first base," because he was that mad. And if one of the coaches were that, why weren't the other ones? And like I said before, why didn't anybody go to the umpire who is supposed to have the control of the field, like you were talking about the yellow card to the other coach or to another, player? Those sort of warnings, I think, are getting pushed on the back end because nobody wants to offend anybody anymore. Nobody wants to make anybody mad. And it is creating a, you know, a problematic environment for these kids. These kids are like, well, I'm trying to be respectful. I'm trying to be a good teammate or good have good sportsmanship. But look at the other team. They're getting results. They're scoring, or they're this or they're that. Why aren't we doing that? And then all of a sudden, now you have that reversal of you're trying to teach respect and sportsmanship, and they're not wanting to do it because they are seeing that the bad ones are, getting the cheers or getting the reward of it.
Wow, I mean,
And that's just in softball. Girls, 12U softball.
Yeah, that's tough. And maybe like we're saying it's just in 12U softball. I mean, that I've found
I was just
that
saying, no, that was just that one little snippet of a story for 12U softball. I mean, I could
Yeah.
go on from all sorts of stuff, and we'll touch base on the martial arts thing because I talked to Andy about that too. But it's totally opposite. So it's
Yeah.
really cool, and you'll dig that one.
And I think what's cool about this whole aspect of the conversation is we're all coming from a different side. Like Coach Ken, you're clearly on it from the coach side, and Kobe, you have.
I've coached softball. I've
Yeah.
been the parent. I've been the assistant.
And then there's my aspect where I'm dealing with, like, what I love about karting is in a karting day. So we go to the racetrack and everybody races that day. So we have 5-year-old, 6-year-old bracket, 7, 8, juniors, seniors. So everybody's there and everybody's racing. And one of the things I'll never forget that the guy I took a couple coaching lessons off of told me is like, what I like about what you do is that the kids can look up to you, because I had the fuzzy helmet and I was always there to help out. And he's like, you don't know how much the kids in that particular environment are looking to the older people who are also racing as role models. And
role models, mentors, influencers, coaches, so to speak.
like he's like, what you do is you take it and you're serious with it. You race and you race hard, but you also enjoy it. And that's what we want the kids to learn, that this is supposed to be fun. And once it's all becoming fun, it's more of like did you watch that episode of South Park that I told you to watch?
I did not. I did not.
Figured. But that's a whole the point of that is the kids don't have fun with baseball anymore. So they're all trying to lose their game so they don't have to play baseball in the summer anymore. And Stan's dad is the parent in that episode who's going around like looking for another parent to get into a fist fight with at the games.
And that's the shame.
Yeah.
I mean, you take the fun out of youth sports, or you take the fun out of sports, not even youth sports, sports in general. It creates that bad taste in people's mouths, and like you were saying, you train people for, these long distance runs and all this other stuff. So actually this leads into a real quick question of that is training adults that much different than training kids?
That's a great question, and
I know what
the
my
an-
answer would be.
Yeah. Yes and no, right? So, most of the time, our adults, they're there because they want to be there. Nobody is pushing them or forcing them to do these crazy endurance adventures. They might think they're trying to prove something to themselves, or they might have different reasons that they're doing it, but they typically tend to be a little bit more motivated. On the flip side of that, though, you have you've got a lot of the same personality things that you're dealing with. So uh I just said they're motivated and they want to do these things, but motivation goes up and down, right? So
Yeah.
helping them connect with why they're really doing this, what aspects of the sport do they enjoy about it, what aspects of the sport do they find frustrating or is causing them to say, I'm going to skip this workout, I'm going to skip that workout, right? So there's a lot of, when you're coaching, it's not just go do this run or go do that run. It's really helping them continue to connect with their why they're in the sport. And so I feel like on the youth side, it's similar. You've got some super competitive kids that are there because they want to continue to play at a high level, but ultimately it's because they're having fun and they're enjoying that and they enjoy the competition, right? You have other kids who maybe their parents are forcing them to be there, so you've got to figure out how do you help them unlock their motivation for why they're being here and how do they find fun in it too. So that whole coaching mindset plays super hard, or is super prevalent for both adults and youth. I think.
One of the things that I heard in there that I kind of like that I had written down as a question for us to talk about is you mentioned like parents that are making their kids do it. Do you get a lot of parents who are trying to live their dream childhood through their kids?
That's a great question. Um,
You
and I
don't have to
think
keep saying that's a great question every time I ask a stupid question.
that's a stupid question.
Thank you.
That was a stupid statement.
Yes. No, and I say, of course that's a stupid question because of course these parents are trying to live out
Right.
their own. Um, I
Yep.
think it, like this is all related. I think it goes back to motivation, right? Like I wish I had been a great soccer player. I wish I could make Ronaldo like plays. And so am I going to project that on my kid who I think, oh, he's playing soccer. So obviously he also wishes he was fantastic and also wishes he was able to set up these insanely awesome plays and be a leader of the team where, he might just be saying, hey, I'm enjoying this. I'm having fun, right? I don't want to necessarily step up and be a leader on the team. I want to be one of the guys who's supporting the team, and that's fine. And so I think we have to think about that and understand that and realize that, hey, our kids might not be motivated by the same way that we were. And like, I'm thrilled that he plays soccer because I played soccer and I love soccer. But at the end of the day, I don't care that he's playing soccer. I care that he's doing something. You've got to do something where you're going to get these lessons about being able to work with the team, being able to stay physically active, be able to handle adversity, like learn life lessons. That could be through soccer. It could be through martial arts. It could be through something. I don't care what you do, but you have to do something. And so I try to disconnect as much as I'm passionate about the sport. Hey, if this isn't for you, that's fine. And that was my mindset going in. But I think a lot of times parents are like, I wanted to be so great at this thing, and you've got the opportunity to be so great at this thing. Why wouldn't you want to be so great at this thing? And so I think that's where the living through my my kid comes from sometimes.
And one of the cool things you said was how you have kids that are super competitive. I'll even go as far as adults with work. So you have people who are super competitive. You have certain people that they have to be that leader. But then you have other people telling other people, well, why aren't you as good as this person? Why aren't you stepping up like that person? Instead of telling other people like, hey, it's okay to be like that number 2 guy, or it's okay to be that supporter, because other people are going to look at you like, that's the person I want to work with, or that's the person I want to be a teammate with, because he's not trying to roll. He's not trying to lead. He is there to help support all of us, because that's what a team is. You're going to have those natural born leaders across the board for whatever. But I don't think that there's enough emphasis put on people that you need those other people. You need the number 2 guy to support the number 1 guy and to support everybody else, which then everybody else helps to support.
Yeah, absolutely. And in all those aspects, right? Whether it's sports, whether it's life, I really love this idea that we talk about in the business world called servant leadership, right?
Oh, I
And
just read that
so,
book. I
did
just
you?
read the
Yeah,
book. Yes.
awesome.
Actually, my wife read the book and she's like, you need to read
I'm
this.
gonna have to read it.
So it's a
Yeah.
quick read. It's not that thick. You read it and then you read it again and you get something completely different out of it. But that's wild that you brought that up.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's been a concept that has, I think, long served my leadership style, and one that I try to apply, whether it's coaching youth sports, working with adults, or in my business life.
Well, so like, I mean, as the Christian guy, I got to bring up Jesus, because that's what he did. He literally led people by serving them.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely why we're talking about him 2,000 years later, right?
Oh, I mean, and also he created everything, so he deserves to be talked about. But there are people
Well,
who
there is that.
I won't bring up Mother Nature then. But anyways.
So you brought up Ronaldo, so I'm guessing you're Ronaldo over Messi.
You know, so here's the thing. I I love watching soccer, right? I love playing soccer. I love coaching soccer. Um, I don't get overly invested in like particular players or teams. Like, yeah, heck, you know, the USA looks the best than they've probably ever looked, right? So I find myself getting passionate there. But in terms of like the feuds and like, I know you probably want a good answer on that. I don't know. I think I like Messi because he plays in the States.
Yeah, so I think the reason I asked that was I'm not a big soccer person either, but my youth group, like, that's all they talk about is soccer, and then they're always arguing Ronaldo, Messi, even Ryder. Like, he doesn't watch soccer, but he watches YouTube. And when I get asked that question, I say both. They're both. It's like Gibson Les Paul or Fender Stratocaster. I can't say the F word right now because Fender's in a lot of heat, but you know, you have to have both of them because they both have earned their place, and everybody gets so mad at me. Again, you
Well,
know,
maybe what the question should be is not who do you like better, but what do you like about each one?
but that's not. They're trying to rage bait is what the question.
Well, yeah, but as you were just asking him, it's, you know, I have no idea who you're talking about at all. But it's just obviously no 2 players are the same in anything, and so it's like you like these players, but why?
I just like it when the kids from the youth group wear their Messi jerseys, because then I can look at the back and say, "Hey, the back of your jersey's a little messy."
That's where I thought you were going to go when you first started asking that question. Because again, I don't know soccer. I know there's a soccer ball. That's it. So the night before we have team eliminations sparring, where we all voluntarily signed up to get kicked and punched in the face or in the stomach or wherever. One guy got his nose completely shattered. So there was that. You have different schools from different areas and different techniques and different disciplines. And that spilled over to the next day. So in saying that, I'm going to lead off with this. We had black, whites, Asians, Middle Eastern, Indians, different religions, different politics, different personal beliefs, different family beliefs. We had people that were on a spectrum of some sort, and we had no arguments. A couple hundred competitors, a couple hundred, not 100, not 200, a couple hundred competitors. There was no arguments. There was no fights. There may have been some trash talking here and there from little ones up to the older ones, but it's a competition. You're going to have the trash talking. You're going to have the, I can't believe they won and I didn't. The cool thing with that is you had somebody there saying, but why didn't you? Well, because the judge did do. Okay, but why didn't you? So we have all these competitors where we literally did, like I said, sign up to get kicked and punched in the face. We're breaking boards. We're doing forms. We all have different weapons, from a bow staff to a sword to a sai to the little sickle things.
Full Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, we had everything. We had people winning. We had people losing. I stood there and could not figure out why or how I lost at that particular thing. Did I get mad? Yep. Who did I get mad at? Myself. So what did I do? This is what I tell everybody to do. Andy and I have talked about this, is you ask a question. So I went up to the head referee and asked him, what could I have done different? We talked, moved on. Now, again, this is a 2-day event. There's no arguments. There's no yelling. There's no fighting. There's none of that. Everybody took their ego and kept it in check. Plain and simple. My individual sparring. The first round, I end up sparring the captain of my team. Like, really? I lost by 1 point. I stepped out and cheered him on. He lost to a gentleman from Taekwondo, and we do Tung Sudo. We both stepped back and cheered that guy on for the grand champion round. So you got me not advancing, you got my captain not advancing, and here we are both cheering on the people who beat us. Sportsmanship, respect, etiquette. And that is what is missing. And you brought it up earlier, respect. You would make a really good Tung Sudo practitioner, especially since you said you always want to keep learning. That is one of our things. Our black belts aren't black belts. They're midnight blue, because the night sky is not black. It's a bluish midnight blue, and it goes on forever. Your learning goes on forever. Just because you got black belt doesn't mean you're done learning, you're done training. You get to learn a whole new different type of stuff. You went from a white belt to a black belt just to be told, yeah, now you got to learn as a white belt again. So, and it's a really cool thing to be a part of when you have that many people, that many competitors, that many religions, that many races, that many, whatever you want to call us. And we're all hugging each other. We don't know each other, but we're thanking, hey, come up, Subidata, thank you for letting me punch or kick you in the face. And thank you for punching and kicking me in the face back. And that's what competition, in my opinion, is really missing, is the respect and the thanking of everybody. In sporting events, you have people that, they line up and they high five each other. Good game, good game, good game, good game. How many of those people actually look the other person in the eye and make contact? Thank you, instead of good game, 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 and walking past them. And, with martial arts, that's what we do. We thank people with respect and etiquette for letting us and receiving punches and kicks, to the face and you do get hurt. And we thank somebody for that.
Yeah, I think that is a great example of sportsmanship at the highest level. And as Andy mentioned, growing up, we did karate. Since then, I had done a few different. Actually, did Tang Sudo for a while, a very short while, and as I mentioned, a little bit of jujitsu. So I think I've always been very attracted to like the ideas behind martial arts. I've always been very interested in a lot of like Eastern philosophical ideas, and I think I've brought a lot of that into my coaching today. So I think that's where a lot of the my ideas around discipline and respect within sport come from.
Right.
So
But at the same time, it's like, you had to learn that as well.
yeah, yep,
And
and
a team is, a team or whatever is only going to learn from what, their coaches, their mentors, their influencers learned. And the one thing I learned about martial arts and with sports, in general, is every school you go to is totally different. We all might
yeah,
have the same patch. We all, in my discipline, we're all part of the International Tang Sudo Federation. International. That federation is all over the world. When we have world tournaments, we have 9, 10, 11, 13 different countries. And I had mentioned on another podcast how, wow, we don't all speak the same language, but somehow we all know Korean. But we all do things a little differently. Like if you come to my school with my instructor, with Master Lindsay, you're going to be like, holy cow, this is totally different than anything I've ever learned. And then you can go to another school and you're like, holy cow, this is totally different from what this just went through. And it's all on how they are instructing, how they're coaching. You've got someone who could be very loud and hyper and energetic with all this passion. And you are just like, oh, I gotta go. Let's go do something. Let's break stuff. And then you go to another school where they're talking, just like this. And they're saying, okay, this is what we do. This is that. And you're like, okay, I can definitely get behind this. Like, I understand now why we're kicking this way, why we're doing this way. And you go from here to here, as you know, totally different coaching styles. And
yeah.
people just resonate with it.
But I think it sounds like, behind all of that and kind of the difference, it looks different on the edges, but sort of the mindset is what holds it all together. And I think I found I've certainly been very fortunate to have been put in the right places and the right circumstances where I've developed that type of mindset too. And I think sometimes you have to understand and realize when you're coaching youth sports and you're dealing with those difficult coaches or those other difficult players, like they might not have that core foundational mindset. They might not have been exposed to the ideas, right? When we're talking about jerk parents, and I don't know if you guys swear on this podcast, but the problem with assholes, yeah, well, the problem with assholes is most of the time they don't realize they're assholes, right? So,
and even when you call them out on it, it's your fault, not theirs.
Yeah, exactly. So I try to keep that in mind too, that, hey, I've been exposed to a lot of these different ideas, the philosophy of servant leadership, the idea that, there are these more fundamental truths we're trying to teach through youth sports, and others might not have that, right? Other teams, it's just that a parent stepped up because no other coach was going to do it, and they weren't going to have a team if they didn't do that, right? So,
yep, I was going to bring that up. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I try to come at it from that perspective, and to be completely transparent. Like, I'm talking a good game here, but my team, I had a team last year or a season and a half ago, and we had some issues. We were in a game. We were up at 6-0, something like that, right? I didn't particularly see anything getting out of control on the field. The refs didn't see anything getting out of control on the field, but there were things the other coach was perceiving, and there were a few upset team members on their team, right? And they believed we were showing poor sportsmanship, and they actually just stopped the game, and they said, "We're done. We're not doing this anymore. Your players are being disrespectful." Right now, again, I I might have noticed one or two comments, and I pulled those kids off as soon as I had. But that was difficult because this is, my team was a team that I was trying to pride ourselves on being respectful, on being disciplined, and so that was hard. And after the game, again, the refs said they didn't see anything, but like we followed up with the governing body of our sports team, and I had to have very difficult conversations with parents to say, "Hey, I did not particularly see this, but here's what I had heard. Here's what was reported about your player or another player, and here's what we're going to do about it." Right? So I will say that next practice, all they did was run and do burpees and push-ups, and that was it was a coachable moment for both. Well, I say for both, actually, on multiple fronts. For me as a coach, to make sure that I'm always aware of what's happening on the field, what my players are doing. It was a coachable moment for the parents to say, are your players living by these standards I set out at the beginning of the season? I didn't see anything particularly on my side, but here's what was said, or what was said of what was said, and
Right.
and then to the players themselves, right? Like, you have to be aware, even if you don't think you're coming off a certain way, that you very well could be. And so you need to, also be checking in with yourself. How am I presenting myself? How is this coming off? How could it be perceived by the other team? And how can I make sure that I'm just showing up to this field in a respectful manner all of the time? And that was tough. And it was toward the end of the season. And again, emotions on the other team because they were losing, by a pretty significant margin. But I had to make sure that my players know, even when that happens, we are respectful the entire time.
Now, do you think that in that situation, the coach of the other team was just that embarrassed that they were losing that bad, and then found a reason to be upset? Because I've seen
Yeah.
that.
I mean,
I mean,
absolutely
losing because
could
it's your
yeah,
You-
absolutely could have been. And there were even some comments from parents on the other team that, yeah, our coach sometimes gets a little overly emotionally invested, and this is not the first time something like this has happened, but I still said, like, I understand that, but I still want to make sure we're not putting them in a situation where they've got the ability to become that upset, right? So we were still taking responsibility, even though multiple people said, "Hey, probably wasn't just you guys."
Well, no, so like I love that because it's easy for our personal nature to say, "Oh wait, okay, yeah, this coach is just a jagaloon. He's a jerk coach, and this is something he does. It's not my fault at all." And the story it's done, but you still invested into, well, it's a thing that happened, so we're going to make sure that on our end we're living up to what we should be living up, even if we were falsely accused, we'll address it.
It was a learning experience for everybody, for your team, for you, for your team's parents. It sucked that it happened. It sucked that other coach did that, but it ended up being, a learning experience and being a very good outcome.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things that I try to say, and philosophy, kind of a core philosophy that again is a practice because it's easier to say than do, right? But when you have parents or coaches or referees or players or just anybody in your life, there is nothing you can do to control how they're going to act. You can only control how you respond to their actions, right? And I think that's a super important lesson. And again, it's hard to realize because we want to, even in our personal relationships, we want to just naturally take control and be in charge, but you can only control how you respond to your situations. You can't really control the situations.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said on that aspect too of like reading the situation so that we can respond the best way possible. Everybody will just flare up and all of a sudden everybody's upset. I think of particularly there's this time where driving, I wasn't paying attention and I cut somebody off and he was all mad at me and he pulled up to me at the next light and looked at me. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. I'm glad you were paying attention. Like I wasn't, and you really saved the day by being alert. And all of a sudden it went from him being mad to like, oh dude, this guy complimented me. Like this is a good situation now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a great example, right? And road rage is like you think about it, you've got all these decisions your body is making. You're moving at high rates of speed, which we were never actually designed to move at. So it's so easy to be triggered, and it happens to all of us. And this is probably a trite example that is used all the time, but like when you find yourself in that situation, like, oh, that person cut me off, or like they're speeding around me because they're an asshole. Well, what if they just found out they're, somebody super important to them was rushed to the hospital because they were in some type of horrible accident, and then all of a sudden, like, okay, that makes sense. I would probably be responding the same way in the moment.
Right, right. Well, I have another question for you. So, as a trainer, coach, would you rather train or coach somebody who has no experience or someone who has experience? And I'm not saying like basic experience, mediocre, just either no experience or experience.
I mean, I love the question. Um, I really like working with everybody, and it's, it all goes back to kind of, again, like we talk about how things look different on the edges, but at the core they're the same, right? Somebody's doing something because they've got some type of motivation. So I love working with people on unlocking that motivation and figuring out what gets them to where they want to be. So beginners, it's super fun because they're learning so much and they make a lot of progress a lot faster. But then on the edges of performance, it's like, what's the little tweak that we can make that unlocks the next level of performance for you? So it's really the same core mindset. We're trying to figure out what motivates you, what unlocks that next level. But beginners will make bigger leaps faster, whereas our professionals, like, it's the little things that you got to figure out for them.
Right, right. No, I like that answer because I've always said I love working with people with no experience because you don't have to go against maybe a bad habit or habits that they have come to you already with.
Yeah. Everybody
But
has.
what you said, it's both at the same time. If someone comes to you with experience, now you know that, okay, there's certain things I don't have to explain. There's certain things
Yes.
I don't have to do. But then you're going, why did that person do that? Oh, because they had experience. And then you got to try to convince them or motivate them to try it at least a different way and see how that
I have
acts.
to train people all the time on how to use equipment. So we're not even talking about sports. We're talking about like
It's the same thing though.
yeah, this is your well-being. This is how you earn a living by using this equipment, and this is how you do this. I've been doing this for 15 years, and I've never done it that way in my whole life. Well, just because you've been doing it wrong for 15 years doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah, it goes back to that grandma's ham, right?
Right.
And first principles.
Right.
Yeah. 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 So
I like teaching somebody who's like, okay, that they want to learn. Like you've been saying the whole time is the motivation. I like somebody who is motivated regardless of where they're at. And there's some people who, they might be motivated and it's awesome, but somebody who's not motivated is not fun to teach really at all.
And that is its own challenge and its own form of unlocking potential too, right? So there are some coaches, and I try to fall into that realm where it's like, well, let's figure out what your motivations are and make sure that the things that we're actually coaching you on are going to either support or amplify those motivations, or we coach you a different way on something else that does unlock those core motivations.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and as we're talking about all this, like I know there's going to be people watching who might not have kids and go to sporting events, but there's so much of what we're talking about that you can relate to life in general. It's a lot to say about people who try and take every aspect of a lesson in anything and apply it to their life.
Yeah.
People get emotional with the sports, as you were talking about, earlier, and emotional with work. And once you throw that emotion into it, like football, for example, Steeler games. Oh my gosh. Construction sites on a Monday after a Steelers loss, it's like going to a funeral.
That's a lot of Mondays.
Oh, I guess I haven't watched NFL football since 2017. But I always laughed at, you are upset and depressed that these millionaires playing a child's game lost the game, and it literally ruined your Sunday, Monday, and probably Tuesday. For people that don't know you, don't care about you, you put that much emotion into it. Now imagine if you would put that much emotion into yourself to better yourself in whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like the same, like I love watching Steelers football, right? But I also find I don't get emotionally invested. And I think like that's where this whole parents in sports thing um just just magnifies, right? Because think about how invested you are in a team of a bunch of millionaires who you don't actually feel like you have any direct impact over, right? Like I can go watch that game, but regardless of what I do, whatever Monday morning armchair quarterbacking I try to throw out there, none of that is impact or influence the outcome of next Sunday's game. But now all of a sudden, I've got a youth sports team. My kid's playing on it, right? And I'm maybe just as emotional as I am watching a Steelers game, and I feel that invested in the game. But now I've got somebody who plays on that team that I can potentially directly impact. Like I've got to be able to kind of remove myself from that emotional that emotional attachment to the team, or I'm gonna just like berate that kid, or like I feel like I can directly impact the outcome of next week's game by just you know um really telling this kid what they need to do better, where they're messing up, make them go work with the sports trainer. And again, like if this comes from a place where you're trying to help that person learn and be introspective about what they're doing and how they could do better, that's fantastic. But when I've got all that emotion wrapped up in the outcome that this team is trying to produce, and then I'm spilling that over with all of that passion, it's not going to help the player develop.
So as we're talking about individual players and parents having an investment, like that's my biggest area as a father. When I watch my son play soccer, he's 7, so like it's no big deal, he's 7, but when he's not putting an effort down at the field and the rest of his team's playing, I start to get upset at him as a player. Not so much that he's making us look bad, but his team is trying and he's not playing. So I start to get in that habit of like, I'm digging into him like, dude, get in position. Where are you supposed to be? Maybe more than I'm supposed to. How do you handle parents? Is that decent behavior? Where should we draw that line of you're trying to motivate your kid, but I can tell there's some days where no matter how much I tell him, his mind is just not there.
Yeah, I mean, that's tough too. It sounds to me like you're trying to do it in a healthy way, right? That you're trying to get him to realize that, hey, this is what we're doing right now. We've got to be in the moment. We've got to focus on this thing. And if you do that in a constructive way, that's great. But if it's
You're not getting dinner tonight if you don't get a goal.
Exactly, right? Like that's and you see that and you hear things
You
like
hear
that
it all the time. Like parents say that all the time.
I say stuff to Morgan. My youngest is a bowler and she loves bowling. And I've said this before is, when she first started out, her average was like a 27. And joking around, I don't know anything about bowling. Like I am terrible at it. She does it and my wife does it and they both love it. And Morgan is really good. She's really good. But when she first started out, I would always say, you got a gutter ball. You're out of the family. And she would laugh because she knew I was joking. Like, if you don't, Morgan, you're supposed to hit the pins that are standing up, right? So I would always pull that joke out to get her to laugh about it because, like I've said to Andy, I don't know anything about bowling. That would be like me going to watch soccer with you guys, and I'm sitting there going, what just happened? And I would probably ask a player like, hey, why did you get that yellow card? Or why did you do this? Well, I don't know. Well, why don't you go find out? Or, oh, I did this. Well, then just don't do that.
I yell at the coaches all the time when kids aren't playing. I'm like, you got to bring that kid into the pits. They look at me like they don't know what I'm talking about.
Right. But yeah, like I always joke around, with Morgan about it. I've seen other parents kind of give me a look and she's laughing. It's like, you were saying you were helping in a healthy way. And I was joking around by helping, in my opinion, in a healthy way. But
it's easy to take that from a healthy standpoint though, and just get, because their games are an hour. So this starts at minute 1 and everybody's running around like, not everybody, but my son's running around like, I don't care about soccer today. And then by minute 55 of this, you're like, that's it. He's not getting his switch tonight. But like the tournament, I very much enjoyed getting to sit down and talk with Dawn and Morgan and get to know them better. So that was awesome. I enjoyed that.
And even with bowling and martial arts, I've been to tournaments to where I've seen my own daughter, practice and practice and practice, and I know how hard she practiced for her form event. And then maybe I don't get to see her do that event because I'm competing somewhere or I'm judging or whatever. And then I see the video and I don't say anything to her, but hey, how'd your event go? How did forms go? I didn't win. I didn't even place. Well, how do you feel? I feel I did good. That's all that counts. And then I see the video and I'm like, were you even trying? Like what happened? Like what's going on? And as a kid, as a smaller child, she would get upset. And I learned a lot of what not to say by upsetting, her and Morgan with things that just come out of your mouth as a parent. And I now I ask her flat out, like, well, how'd you do? Well, I didn't do that good. Well, did you place? No. Well, why didn't you place? and she'll look at me flat out and be like, I was really tired. I didn't have it today. I didn't feel the floor. It just wasn't my body. My mind wanted to do it. My body was saying, nah, I mean, you can try, but we're just not gonna, we're just not gonna help, you know? And, like you were saying, you go to this game and he's just like, no, not today. I
So
don't want to do it.
Yeah, and I think like as a coach, that's where I try to be observant too, and I might pull a kid out and say, "Hey, like, what's going on? Doesn't look like you're in it." That's okay. Let me know when you're ready to go back, right? Let me know when you want to get in and when you want to play, and otherwise, like, go, go pick daisies.
If that happens and you are able to do that, with somebody, do the parents question you about why you sat them maybe for a longer period of time than when you usually would?
They might, and I'm sure they have before, but again, it kind of goes back to that mission, what we're trying to do, and why we're doing it, and to say, hey, he wasn't in it today, right? And yeah, and just it wasn't going to be beneficial to the team to have him out there, but more importantly, it wasn't going to be beneficial to have him out there just kind of hanging around. And when he's ready, and sorry, go ahead.
Too, if you're not paying attention, you get, a cleat to the face, a ball to the back of the head, or whatever. And I'm not saying that I ever forgot to pay attention in sparring, but I may have once or twice and gotten kicked by somebody because I wasn't paying attention back in the day.
that's the only way I would ever get you.
For whatever reason.
I always go, "What's that? Godzilla!"
Crack. That's it. But yeah, like, that was definitely a question that I had in my mind to ask you, was if you ever had, those parents come up to you, question you, maybe why.
Not so much anymore, because I've been working with these kids for a while. And it's an interesting mix that I have these days, because there's a core group who've been playing for a long time together, but every season I usually have one or two that they're brand new, and some of them are even brand new to soccer, and we try the best to get them in, and they'll say like, "Hey, I need to come out for a little bit," or "I'm not ready to go back in." I'm like, "Okay, you just let me know when you're ready." Right?
It's cool because you're not throwing that pressure onto them to compete and to be good and to go out there and win it for the team.
Yeah, I mean, I can even remember being in games where I was a very mediocre, if even, soccer player, and thinking, I should not be in here right now. And kind of like looking at the coach like, "Hey, you need to get one of the heavy hitters in."
That's a hard thing to admit too, especially the younger you go. No. I take that back. The older you get, that's hard to admit.
Yeah,
I think it's hard to admit at any point in life.
But the older you get, and we kind of touched base with this. The older you get, people look at you a lot differently. Whether you're driving, on a track, they look at you like, well, you're an adult. You should have it together. Why does he look nervous? Why does he look like this? Or why is he acting like that?
I think I might have told you this, but almost, it doesn't matter if it's a practice session or an actual race. But when I get in my cart on my way to the track, and in between every session, I feel like I'm going to throw up because I'm so nervous.
Yeah. I mean, there's times for competitions. I look at everybody else, teams competition, teams elimination. I'm almost 50 years old. I am 5'10"-ish, depending on what convenience store I'm walking out of. But I sparred a guy who's 19 years old, 6'1", And he's faster, he has more ability. And I have to get that mindset of, I'm just going to run this kid over and see what he does. You got to step back. And then afterwards, it's like, yeah, I lost. And I got to talk to him, and I wasn't mad about it, but I made him understand that, dude, you're 19. I've been married almost 20 years. I am 50 years old. And then I throw the joke out of, you're beating up on your elders. But at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, can I do this anymore? Can I keep competing at that level as now next year I'm going to be 50 years old? I don't feel like it. But when you step into that ring with 19, 20, 25-year-olds, there's an obvious difference. And as a competitor, as an athlete, that's a hard thing to come up with. And the older you get, I think it's even harder. And maybe that's where the parents come in, yelling at their kids and being such a crappy parent slash coach, or yelling at the other coaches because of that, because they are getting older and they're admitting, or they're 100% completely out of shape and can't run from one side of the house to the other, but they know more than anybody else. So they're in some way, somebody's admitting something.
Yeah, I think I agree. To riff off of what Andy said earlier, like I feel the same when I'm getting ready to compete in triathlon. Like I still, I've been doing triathlon for 15 to 20-ish years, and I still get nervous every single time. There's a noticeable change in my mood, and probably the way I react toward others. And so I'm trying to always be introspective of that. And then to your point, Kobe, on the parents, I do think there is probably goes back to, hey, I wanted to be at that level at that age. I wish I had stories to tell now that I was at that level. So like, why wouldn't my kid want me to be pushing them as hard as I possibly can? I wish I had somebody pushing me to be at that level when I was that age. But you've got to realize, like, we're all different people. We've all got different motivations. And, just because I wanted to be a star soccer player doesn't mean my kid wants to. Like, I just need to make sure that he's getting the most out of this sport that he can, that he's learning those bigger life lessons that I want to convey through this sport. And it's okay if he's not getting a full ride to college on a soccer scholarship.
Right. Now, here's a question for both of you.
Jesus.
No. How hard is it, or how do you deal with the parents or coaches who never did the thing that their kid is doing, but they're telling the kid and the coaches how to do it?
Yeah, that's
That's a terrible question.
that is a terrible question.
It's not an easy question, because as an adult, as you have brought up, your first reaction is, to puff out your chest and, pull your arms up, and you want to literally tell somebody, hey, go sit down. You've never done this. You've never played the sport. You've never done it, but how dare you?
Can I go first?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I go first?
I mean, that was for both of you. So yeah.
From my aspect of somebody who has never done it either, because Ryder plays soccer and I've never done the soccer or any of that stuff. Like,
Nope.
I guess a lot of that will depend on what level we're playing at. But like for riders, I don't have any room to talk for any of his coaches, whether they came from, and I'm just grateful that somebody's doing it so he can.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
I take that into account, because some coaches, like, you can tell that they don't care that much. But at U6, U8, they really shouldn't be making them feel like this is the most important play you will ever play in your entire life,
Right.
So like, I said Jesus as a joke, but I tell
Yeah.
my youth group all the time, we've talked about terrible calls from referees. And I think we can take the same approach to coaches. Like, there's going to be a bad call. And I ask the youth group that all the time. Like, hey, one of the questions we frequently talk about is they all play sports. 90% of the kids in my youth group are in like very competitive travel baseball and basketball. Has there ever been a time that a coach has got the call completely wrong? And they all say, yeah, and there's a big story and there's a lot of emotion behind it. I'm like, well, dude, I mean, Jesus did nothing wrong and they killed him for it. Like, so I joked about that, but like Jesus, a lot of times is my answer of how am I going to react to this situation? Well, as a Christian guy, I'm going to, especially in this area, because everybody knows, like I'm the youth leader at my
He's kind of
church.
a big deal.
I don't want to say. I always say the assistant
I was
to
just
the
gonna
regional
say-
pastor.
Just gonna say that.
But I do have to handle myself very well, and I
Absolutely.
want to set those expectations with my son. Like, hey, he's your coach, regardless of what his experience is. He's the coach, and we're following his lead and his example because it's his team. Whether it's right or wrong, we're going to learn that, and it'll be a learning experience for you as you discover that, like, hey, you know what, that was not what I should have done, but because coach told me to, I did it anyways. And
Yeah, I think it goes back to a common theme I keep hearing, and that's these are teachable, learnable moments. And maybe what we need to do is to coach our players to be more open to learnable experiences, right?
one of the questions
Absolutely.
one of the questions I wrote down was, what's the purpose? And I'm ignorant on that, but like the three things I thought of was growth, development, and sportsmanship. I didn't put winning down.
No, no. And if you harp on winning, you do take the fun out of all of it, and you take the growth, and you take the development, and you take the sportsmanship, and you take everything that is fun out of it. You don't want to have fun anymore? Go to work. Become an adult. Go pay your taxes and get that paycheck and go, what just happened to my money?
Yeah.
But no, go ahead
What's
with
the,
that.
what's the
Well,
jerk parent? Steve?
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing that you had said or asked about was you've got somebody with no experience who's trying to do this thing, or they're either coaching or they're on the sidelines.
Well, coaching is one thing, because you get that coach because, like you said, someone had to step up or there wasn't going to be a team. Someone had to try, and not even try. Someone had to step up and do it because there wasn't going to be a team. So if you take that out of it, if they're stepping up, they're probably at least trying to learn. They're probably reading something or watching something to help them develop. But you have that, I'm going to sound really rude here for a minute. You got some of those, fat gelatinous parents who can't do the sport.
He's smiling. He knows exactly what
Never
you're talking
did the
about.
sport, but have the mouth to tell everybody what to do.
Yeah.
That's
So
me when
I-
I watch. That's me when I watch professional football. Why didn't you kick the ball on that play?
And they're playing baseball.
Yeah.
I think you've got a few approaches, and you've got to take it from a few different angles. So, number one, if you're a parent and that's your coach, then, or even if it's another parent on the team, right? You've got an extreme situation where you can say, like, okay, we're just not doing this. We're going to go find another team that's a better fit for us. And sometimes that's what you have to do. The other thing is, if you are the coach and you've got a parent like that on the team, right? I try to say, hey, I understand what you're trying to do here. I could use some help. We always need assistant coaches, right? Let's get you your clearances and bring you a little bit closer, and you can understand what we're trying to do. I would love to get your thoughts on what we should do. At the end of the day, I'm the head coach. but let's work through that a little bit and bring them into the fold, right? And now you're also trying to coach that parent to be a better coach. And who knows, maybe they do, even though they've never done the sport, even though they're what would you call them, the gelatinous parent.
The parent,
They
the
might,
hut.
Right.
they might, yeah, they might have something in there that you're missing and would actually be helpful. But
Are
again,
you just
that you
being
might
nice
also,
right now by saying that?
yes.
Would you?
No, no.
No, I don't.
There are certainly times where I've talked with parents to try to understand their perspective and offer them space to come and talk with me about what we're doing and how we should try to improve. And most of the time they have no idea what they're talking about, but also most of the time they don't take you up on that, and lots of the times they kind of sit back a little bit, right? Or will step back just a little bit, because now you're asking them to actively get involved and have skin in the game. And then all of a sudden, like, whoa, I didn't want to actually be responsible for anything. I just
want
wanted
people
to
to hear me.
yell. Yeah. And then there's the other side of that too, where maybe you're the parent, you've got the coach that, is there just because that there wasn't going to be a team otherwise. Well, then you got to decide, how important is this thing to your kids and their development? And are you going to step up to be the assistant coach and to help? And even if you've not done that sport before, go have a 30-minute conversation with ChatGPT, find out what your strengths are and what you can bring to the team and that coach that doesn't know.
Yeah.
I instantly am thinking of did you ever watch Modern Family?
But yeah.
You remember the Philbot with the iPad head, and you ever seen that? He wheels
Yes.
around. I'm gonna have ChatGPT be the coach.
Yes. I mean, sometimes it might be better.
Maybe. I don't know. I've watched Terminator too many times to trust that sort of thing.
Well, listen, I'll really, it's funny that you mentioned have GPT be the coach, because I will say, like, when I got involved in coaching again, it had been 20 years since I was involved in soccer, and I still have the basics down, but the game has changed a lot. I actually wear, it's called, let me see if I have it here. It's a plod, right? So it's this little capsule. You can pin it to yourself and it will record everything you say. So I will wear it during a soccer game. It picks up me coaching my team. I try to be a little bit more conscious about making sure I'm saying players' names while I'm wearing it and what I'm seeing. And then I do have ChatGPT do an analysis, and then it helps me figure out what I did well from a coach's perspective, what I could change. And then, yeah. And then it gives me feedback for all of the kids. So it takes what I'm saying to the kids on the field, and then it puts it into a little summary for them. And then I can share that with them, or I can use it in my next round of practices to say, oh, so-and-so really was having trouble clearing the ball from this position or that position. Let me work on that with them in practice next week.
Let me tell you why I love that. And I'm going to ask you if you've ever seen a show called Clarkson's Farm. I'm going to ask you that same question again. Again, it's relevant because we have this guy who's never been a farmer, and all of a sudden, like, he's retired, so he's a multi-millionaire, so he buys a farm.
Is he the guy in the meme that jumps out of the car?
I don't think I've
At
seen that
one
one.
point.
So who is that guy? What did he do?
He was
before he wanted to be
he was a car journalist for a British show called Top Gear.
Okay.
And the show was originally just about, like, this is why this car is great, or this is why this car isn't. And it became this big phenomenon where eventually it, like, evolved into them just doing stupid stuff with cars.
Okay.
So it's huge. And every major country has done a spinoff of, like, US Top
Something
Gear and
okay.
Australian Top Gear. But anyways, he's a farmer now, and he's driving in his car with his farm coworker who's a younger kid. He's farmed his whole life. And he's telling him this story about his genealogies. Like I did one of those, send your urine sample to somebody and they tell you your whole family history. And I've come from this line of people who owned a glass business a long, long time ago. And everybody in the glass business, like they were the most, anybody who bought glass was getting it from them, but they didn't keep up with modern technology. And eventually they had to go out of business. So they were the greatest. But we're like, no, we're fine how we're at. So his whole purpose of that particular farm episode was the farm has to become technologically advanced. So he went to a farm trade show and bought this autonomous plowing machine. And, but like, there's that idea again, because grandma never used technology to make her ham. We don't either. But here's Coach Ken, like incorporating things that will make him a better coach. And I'm not saying that AI is the greatest thing in the world, but I'm using it more now. And because I've seen Terminator so much, every time it does something for me, I say, oh, this is excellent. Thank you so much. You did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
I wish I could give you a Snickers.
Yeah.
See, the one thing
Absolutely.
back in the 80s, they had the little tiny recording devices with the little tape, with the little tape player. I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
I even thank it for all of the cookies that it gives me.
Right.
Yeah. And just as a sidebar tangent here, right? This is the meme or the video that I'm talking about. So this is
That's
him,
him.
right? Yeah,
Yes.
right. And this is where he just like totally bails from the car.
Yes, that's him. Dude,
So,
I'm telling you, you would love that show. If you're on next time you're on YouTube, just Google like best Top Gear moments. They did a soccer episode where they play soccer in these tiny little cars.
nice. Well, but he got fired.
Yeah, because he punched the I think it was the producer over some things, but
It seems like a very British thing to do.
yeah. Rumor has it that it was
in a way.
Rumor has it that it was over a cold steak.
I can respect that.
Right.
I mean, I understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he had being a jerk parent. They fired him for being a jerk parent.
So, do you have any questions? You want to spit anything out? Anything on your mind?
Man, this has been great. I really
You can
love
lie.
like
You don't have to lie. I mean, about that too. Like your questions are terrible. You guys are terrible, and
no, this is fantastic. I don't know. What do you guys think? So we've talked a little bit about
like
parents being jerks.
So, yeah, I think from this aspect of we've talked about like, oh, the parents are jerks because they're trying to live through their kids and this and that. But some parents are just nasty.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, that's hard because you feel bad for the kids too, right? So
do you ever get kids that are just like they don't want to do it because they know their parents are just going to be jerks?
Not necessarily in terms of like playing the game. I try to again help the kids unlock kind of their motivation and make sure that they're having fun with it. And so it's been very rare that I've had kids not want to play because of the way their parents are going to react, just because we try to create that atmosphere where they're doing it for themselves. Sometimes I might even have to say like, hey, I'm the coach here. Like, don't worry about what's coming from the sideline, even if it's from your parents. This is what we're doing, and this is how the team is going to win. So I've not had kids actively resist playing because of that.
That's a hard thing too, because there's too many kids that look to their parents for that affirmation of, am I doing good? Did I do a good job? Did I make that right decision? And I see it all the time. I see it in martial arts in the middle of people doing their own form, where the only competitor you have is yourself. You're not going against somebody, and they're doing the form and I could see their eyes or their head looking for their parent.
Yeah.
And you're like, what are you doing? Now, I have the opposite problem. My daughter will not look at me. She wants nothing to do with it. She also outranks me. But she wants to be her own person.
Yeah.
She
So
wants to be that person of, if I'm going to mess up, I'm going to mess up. I'm not going to look at you to mess up. And even when she tested for her junior Kyosa, which junior instructor, I didn't watch the test. And people were like, why aren't you watching the test? I'm like, because I don't want her to look at me and me just sitting there watching and her thinking, oh, he doesn't approve. He thinks I did this wrong. It's not about me. It has nothing to do with me. So when that girl competes, I don't watch. And if I do watch, I'm standing behind somebody to where she can't see me, or my back is turned and somebody else is watching her telling me what she's doing because of that. And that's a hard thing as a coach to explain to somebody, like, don't listen to that section. I'm the coach. Listen to me, especially when the parents are involved and they're looking to that parent for, that thumbs up or what.
yeah. So how do you handle that? How do you tackle that if you know you have a kid that's going to be looking over there the entire time?
It's different for me for martial arts because, number one, I'm not the instructor. I am not the Kyosa yet, maybe. But I have to take it as different ages. So whether it's male or female, I don't even care. I take it as different ages. When you have those little ones who, if you're talking to them and you're like, listen, you need to pay attention, and then you get that little lip quiver, where they're like, oh no, they're going to cry. You can't do that. So you got to talk to them like, hey, look, instead of looking over there, focus on yourself. It's about you. Nobody else. You are here to make yourself better. And you could take that approach with a teenager. They're just going to ignore you. So unfortunately, with some people, what I've had to do is tell them, hey, so-and-so, you're doing this move wrong, or you're doing this wrong because you just maybe haven't practiced it, or you saw it done and you're trying to do it like they did it. They are wrong. Let me help you. And then I watch the body language, their eyes and their face expressions, and they don't care. For example, I was showing a parent and a child the same thing in the middle of me talking about this thing that I am very passionate about, and I'm not the best, but I am good at. Very good at. They both looked at each other and rolled their eyes. I turned around, corrected my uniform, no lie, turned back around and said, do it yourself.
Yeah.
And I have never, ever helped them or extended that to them, because what is the purpose? And listen with me, like I'm saying, because I can have that one-on-one. It's not a team. Even if I was a coach for a forms team or a sparring team, I'm going to approach that a little differently, because with those, the coach doesn't win the medal or the big forms or team cup. That's given to the competitors, which is then given to the school. All as you are is you're a part of it. Half the time they don't even want you in the picture if they win because they're the competitor. And I look at it from that point of view of, I honestly do want to coach a forms team one day. I really got to be honest with you. I really do, because I want these kids The adults, I would love to be in part of a juniors forms team because I want them to walk away with that confidence. I want them to walk away with the sportsmanship that a lot of us already have in martial arts. But I want to see those 3 individuals go from I do my individual form to we all do this form at the same exact time, the same exact moment. Each step is exactly the same. And to see that look on their face, that confidence when they enter the ring, I want to be a part of that. But at the same time, I'm very happy to walk away from somebody and not care.
I've seen you do it.
I've
back
seen
at
me
the
do it.
school. And that's why every time you told me something, I was like, I'm gonna listen.
Yeah. And it's not, and if I don't know something, I'm the type of person where I literally tell them, like, you know what, I'm not sure, but let's go find out.
Let's go ask grandma why she makes her ham this way.
I mean, that's exactly you can't always control the situation. You can only control how you respond to it, right?
And sometimes you just walk away and let it ride.
Yeah.
We
I
make
think
go ahead.
I was say the very last thing I would say on sort of that theme of working with kids and the parents who are, just always not good enough, or you messed this up or messed that up. Always try to have the conversation about, hey, this is what I was expecting from you as your coach. This is what I saw that looked really, really good. And these are the things that we're going to work on next time we get together, right? That way they're getting the positive reinforcement that, that I think is so critical, especially if you don't think they're getting it at home from the parents. And again, I don't think the parents are trying to only give them what went wrong. But if they've not been a coach before, and that, they don't necessarily understand what motivates folks, maybe they think, I'm sure they think that what they're saying to their kid, you messed this up, you messed that up, why wouldn't you do this, why wouldn't you do that? They think they're doing it all from the perspective of this is what's going to help you get better. But there needs to be that positive reinforcement in there, and we're going to try to do better next time, and this is what better looks like.
I have fallen into that category of being the negative person.
We all have.
And that's how I got into martial arts. Like, I don't know if you watched the last episode that we did, but I talked about that, about how whenever Michaela did a test and I felt she didn't do good enough, and I questioned her about it. She was 8, being a parent, why didn't it? Why blah 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 blah? And she looked at me and said, "If you know how to do it, why aren't you doing it?"
Yeah, that's awesome.
So guess what? I mean, what do you do at that point? Do you yell? Do you get mad? Sometimes, I guess. But I looked at it like, why didn't you just kick me in the throat and punch me in the stomach at that point? So I accepted that challenge because she was 100% right. And, that's how I got into it. And I try not to be the negative person, but unfortunately for adult, very easy for us to pick out bad stuff.
Yeah. Even in our own lives, right? Like, tend to focus on all the things. Like, as soon as this podcast is over, I'll be like, what are all the things I didn't talk about, and why didn't I say this, or why didn't I say that? Versus,
yeah. Well, I mean, you're absolutely more than welcome to maybe pop back up, because
one of the episodes that Andy had brought up, which I think you would be excellent at, is asking questions. Why don't humans ask questions anymore? Of, for example, Andy brings up something about cars to me, and I just sit there and go, yeah, and smile and everything, instead of going, I honestly have no idea what you're talking about. Can you just explain that a little bit more?
Right.
Or, nobody asks questions. Nobody asks for help. Nobody asks anything anymore.
Even something as simple as like, come do this. Can you come do? Because like karting, nobody in the family understands, my karting. And you came to a race once, and you ran Reynolds with us, and you had a lot of improvement in 3 sessions.
and it goes farther than, and for me personally, it goes farther than the like the chat GBT or whatever it's called. And see, I can't even pronounce it right. But I like the human interaction part of it. I think, even though, anyway, I like the human interaction when you're asking somebody a question, because they might go down a road that you were just not expecting from a past experience of, don't do it this way. Trust me, you know. So we were actually talking about that. So I think with your background and everything that you do, that would be really cool.
That would be a lot of fun, because with the example that you gave of Andy, right? Like I don't love cars, but I love that you love them. And I want to know why you love them.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Yeah. They get you from point A to point B.
Yeah, right.
I don't have to walk. I'd still be walking if I had to come here.
There's a show called Clarkson's Farm.
I heard about that somewhere.
No, I'm kidding.
I will watch it before we ever talk again.
Okay.
Tomorrow is Sunday, and you know what I do on Sunday mornings? I YouTube.
Nice.
I sit there and I try to learn.
It's on Amazon Prime too. But anyway, so I know you
okay.
wanted to be done around 1:00, and we're getting close to that. So
We are.
I'll wrap it up, at least your aspect with this. We're gonna ask you your 3 questions in a second, but we're kind of keen on this idea from the Batman movie with
Lego Batman?
no, the quote, what makes you better than me? And Batman goes, I'm not wearing hockey pads. We say this all the time. Like, there's people dressing up like Batman, but they're wearing hockey pads. And I think the goal with sports is to make sure like our kids are not wearing hockey pads. They're suiting up like Batman to do the thing. You know, they're doing it proper. But who knows? There's some jerk parents that are just like, put the hockey pads on and I'll complain the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to happen. It happens at work. Happens as adults.
So,
So,
having said that, we always end our episodes with a recommended food, song, and movie for the viewers. Would you like to give us your recommendation? And then we can boot you off and we'll just do our own thing.
All right. Well, I mean, I want to hear your recommendations too. So, yeah, I got. All right. So, food. I'm going to give you one that I haven't actually tried yet, but I'm extremely excited to. So, for Father's Day, I got a Ninja Creamy. And have you heard of the Ninja Creamy?
We have a Ninja coffee pot.
Okay. So, Ninja makes everything. So, Ninja Creamy is their ice cream maker. And
you
I
got
love
Lieutenant Dan ice cream.
Yes. So, you gotta make your base. So you freeze that overnight. So I'm using a Core Power Elite vanilla milk, right? So it's like a protein milk, but it doesn't taste like a protein powder. It tastes like milk, right? So that's like my go-to protein shake. So I made the base out of that, and we'll be making ice cream out of it later today. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's gonna be excellent. So that's gonna be my recommendation for food. Yes. So what was the next one? Song. Okay. Yeah. So you know that I love Pink Floyd. And so there's so much good new music out too, but I find myself always coming back to Pink Floyd, and I think it was the 40th anniversary this year of Wish You Were Here, and like that might be my favorite Pink Floyd album, and the song Wish You Were Here is one that's like I probably listen to at least once a day. So super deep, awesome song. So Wish You Were Here.
Cool.
And then what's the third?
Movie.
Okay. Just saw Toy Story 5. Don't recommend.
I don't recommend Toy Stories 2 through 4. So
4 was okay. Oh man, movie. Is there anything
we can come back to you if you need to think about it?
Okay, I'm gonna throw one out there that like I love all the John Wick movies, like all that kind of stuff. Movie I just watched recently. I don't even know if I'd throw it in my top 10, but I think it's worth a watch. It's called Dust Bunny, and
Dust Bunny. Okay.
Dust Bunny is very like it's a little bit action, it's a little bit fantasy, it's a little bit sci-fi-ish. Sigourney Weaver's in it, who I absolutely love.
You got me.
And,
Is this a
I'm
live
gonna have to
action
look it up.
movie or is it a cartoon?
It's a live action movie, and it almost has like a Tim Burton feel to it.
Oh, no, you really got me.
Like Tim Burton meets John Wick. It's pretty sweet.
Ain't working.
Kobe, do you want to go next?
No, you go.
All right.
Because
So-
my food is like wrapping around my brain. 'cause-
Food. Every year our church does a chili cook-off. And I've never made chili, so I never enter. But this is the year where I'm doing all my bucket list stuff. So like starting a podcast and getting back into go-kart racing and building a guitar amp. Well,
Nice.
over the weekend, not the weekend, this week, I made chili for the first time. And because I don't believe in beans, instead of
Which is
using
a terrible.
I substituted beans for bacon because it started with the letter B. So I made bacon and ground beef chili. For my first attempt, it wasn't terrible. So I'm going to go for that with food. Song, because we're talking about jerk parents, I'm going with a song called These Lowlands by Swallow the Sun. It is very metal. It is a song about child abuse. And the last line in it is nobody ever dreams of the hands of tender fathers. So I thought that was a good song. It's awesome. Both of you will hate it absolutely very, very much. And so will all of the viewers,
At
but
least he has a positive attitude. about
it's
it.
one of my favorite songs ever.
Positive.
And the
Loaded.
movie is more of a movie/show. I'm going with Harley and the Davidsons. It is a few episode series about how the motorcycle company Harley Davidson started. It is fantastic. And I watched The Crow, is Mr. Kobolansky had recommended. It was a big deal because we were doing Bible studies Friday night, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to stay up late. I bought a copy of The Crow, and I sat
Told you,
down
it's a
on the
beautiful
couch
romance.
with a beer. It was. I had a beer and some snacks and stayed up and watched The Crow, and I enjoyed that very much to where I'm making Friday night movie night by myself more of a common
Cool.
occurrence.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess it's my turn. Food. I'm going to have to go with apple bread. It's kind of like banana bread, except made from apples. If you like apple pie, apple bread. Add cinnamon, add whatever you want. It's a fantastic thing to make. It's Michaela makes it. Love it. Apple bread. That's what I'm going with. Song, you're going to laugh at this one, but both of my daughters put this song on every one of my playlists, whether it's my metal playlist, my rock and roll playlist, I call it a radio friendly playlist. Like you could play, this one playlist anywhere. And it's got 70s rock, 80s, Floyd, Rush, all that stuff. But it came on the way over here, and I laugh every time, right after like Slayer comes on from the Lego movie, everything is awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Megan hates that song because when she worked at the theater, she had to clean up for it all the time.
Yeah, the song makes me laugh every single time I listen to it because there's so many words and so many lyrics to it, and you hear something different, and it's like got new what is it? Stepped in mud, got new brown shoes. Everything's
Yeah.
awesome. Like, wow, man. But it's just a fun song. But movie wise, I don't think I brought
I'm looking up
I brought
Dust
this
Bunny, so I don't-
this one up. Is now I was born in the 70s. So I grew up with the TV show The Fall Guy. Loved the TV show. Well, my wife and Morgan decided they were going to watch the new movie Fall Guy, which I was opposed to. Wouldn't watch it. Came home from class. They were watching it. I watched a little bit of it as the time went on. And it's a good movie. It's entertaining. It's not going to win an Academy Award, but it is an entertaining movie, and it's funny. There are parts of that movie that are absolutely hilarious. So I would recommend the Fall Guy movie.
You watched my movie too that I gave you.
I'm never watching a movie you ever tell me to again. That was deep, and I felt bad about myself as a human. Like,
Yeah, but it was it was good at the end though.
it was a very heartfelt.
It's an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, and I don't.
You probably didn't watch that episode, but I recommended a movie called A Silent Voice, which is a movie about a girl who is deaf and a guy who bullied her in high school or in trade school, and then kind of felt bad for it, and they reconnect. And
I'm out.
About what?
I'm out.
Oh.
No, I'm out on the movie. No thanks. I don't do movies that feel like a gut punch.
Yeah, well, I didn't know what to expect. So Michaela and I sat down and watched it. And like halfway through the movie, I looked at her. She was like, "Why would he recommend this?"
I couldn't tell you that was coming because if you know that's coming, it ruins.
But it was good.
moment that you have.
And if you ever grew up in this world, if you were born and you grew up, you can relate this story to just about anything, not just this kid picking on this girl because she has some sort of handicap. You can relate it to anything, and you can probably have a flashback to when you weren't a nice person to somebody for some reason. And that's where the gut punch happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh man, I feel bad that I said that in 6th grade. Yeah, I'm almost 50, but now I feel bad.
But I always say those are the best kind of movies. The one where you're done, you're thinking about it for a little bit. Like,
No,
dude, that's what
those are not the best movies.
they're the best movies.
Yeah, I'm with Kobe on this.
Everything is not awesome with that.
It was great. It worked out. The movie works out in the end.
I guess. Well, dude, this has been fun.
Yeah.
This has been cool.
Yeah. This has
Hopefully
been
we get to do
awesome.
it again. We'll come up with a good topic for the next one. That'd be fun.
Well, like I said, and a very, very almost special guest.
Sounds great, guys. Appreciate it.
Cool.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
we too.
All right,
Till the
man.
next time,
Thank you very much.
keep thinking like a tinker.
What's on the table today?
All right, I got to put my eyes
Your
on.
cheaters?
Yeah, shut it. Anyway, so this stuff is called Dream by Beam. It is a nighttime blend to support better sleep. And I chose the salty dark chocolate flavored. And it is fantastic. It improves memory, increased energy, immune boost, improved mood, decreased hunger, which is 100% true. If I come home from class and I boil some water, put this in it, mix it up, not only does it taste like the world's perfect hot chocolate, or I come home and I get a glass of milk, put this in it, mix it up, and it's like the best milkshake ever. I'm not hungry. I go to bed feeling just like I just ate.
And how many times do we right before bed, you're like, man, I don't want to go to bed hungry.
Right. This is fantastic. It also, absolutely, that's what it says right there. Absolutely. No gluten, added sugars, GMOs, dairy, or artificial flavors. It is vegetarian, vegan, and keto friendly. This stuff is absolutely amazing. I will drink it before bed. I won't sit there and go, I can't hold my eyes open. It's not like taking Tylenol PM, where you just coma. When you go to bed, you fall asleep. You've tried it.
Yeah, I did. And
You fall asleep.
In fact, I didn't know you got another bag, so I haven't been drinking it. But the night that I had it twice, I was like, man, it's so good. And the sleep is so good.
You don't wake up hungover. You don't wake up groggy. It is just an amazing product. Please look it up and just try it.
I think for like when I woke up, not only was I rejuvenated, but I had some pretty awesome dreams that night. And I just remember thinking like, man, it's been so long since I've had like a night full of awesome dreams and stuff.
There's so much good stuff in this. Look it up. It is Beam Dream. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to put that right there. Andy, that one is for you.
Thank
That is
you.
an unopened brand new bag.
I'm so excited for it because like I said, it's good.
It's fantastic. And like I said, I put that in milk and I'm just,
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
So for me, I talked about this when we did the episode, the short about what do you do for fun, right?
Yes.
And I've actually enjoyed those little short fillers in between podcasts a lot.
It's neat. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it, but obviously I
Right.
enjoy it because I send you them.
Yeah. And then I'm like, at first I didn't know if I should do like like, you know how I put something into, I was like, maybe I'll just leave that as Kobe's thing, but I always have fun. Like,
I love it. I think it's great.
yeah, because you pose the question, and then I usually come in with like, here's my answer to the question to help people think about like, how am I going to answer that question? Which I think the whole flow of that's good. But anyways, I degrade. I'm going to say when we went to Outer Banks.
You pulled that out, and I thought you were pulling out a Hellraiser puzzle box for a minute. I was like,
right.
I don't watch horror movies, but I like that one.
Speaking of the shiny
I'm
sticker,
out, you know,
I have 4 shiny stickers for you.
Stickers.
We went to the Outer Banks. My Megan and Ryder and her whole side of the family. My nephew wanted to learn how to play Magic the Gathering. And
I've heard of it. I know nothing about it.
It came out in the 90s.
Yeah.
And I tried to play. My friends were all into it in the 90s, and I just wasn't smart enough. And back then you couldn't, it wasn't like you could Google the rules and that. But anyways, he was like, hey, do you want to learn how to play this with me? He brought some decks. So we went to the card store, and they have prearranged. This particular one is called, there's different types of gameplay, like with the cards. You can do traditional Magic, and this one is, they call it Commander, where it has to be a deck of 100 cards. You have one particular card that's your commander, and then you just kind of play the game.
Okay.
So I bought it because it was pre-made, and I liked it because the commander is a spaceship in this particular deck, and I like spaceships.
Okay.
So World Shaper, Edge of Eternities. We played it down there, and the theory behind it, as I said in that other video, is adults. We think just because something might have been cool when we were young and we're grown up now, that it's dorky and we can't enjoy it. But I want everybody to be more open with the idea
Be
of
a child. Be a kid.
Like,
have fun. Play games.
Yeah,
absolutely.
If somebody who's younger in your family is like, hey, will you do this with me? It's a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it a lot. I've actually even started customizing my deck, taking cards out, putting in other ones that I think are more gooder.
Yeah.
And it has definitely been a welcomed hobby.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right, so I just wanted to fill everybody in without like a abrupt ending to that. We're still new to the podcast thing very much, and it was awesome having my brother on there. We had some technical issues, as you could expect for a group of guys who don't do this for a living, and our internet went out, so that presented an interesting challenge to put everything back together, which we did, and I think that happened really well. We wanted to put that last segment with our what's on the table in the middle of the episode, but we didn't really have a good way of doing that, and we're learning. So I just wanted to say thanks for watching until the very end, and we're looking forward and planning the next one. Leave it in the comments below what you liked about this, what you've been enjoying about the podcast. We appreciate you.